everybody. Welcome into the Speakeasy. Oh, that's not flattering, but there was a scratch. I am Faith. We are joined this lovely evening by a face that I'm sure you all recognize, a name you certainly recognize if you've never seen her face, which is weird because she is everywhere. Ladies and gentlemen, Linda.
Hey.
Hi.
Thanks for having me.
Thanks for being here. I'm sorry, not Linda. It's a super secret thing. How are you, ma'am?
I'm doing good. It's Tuesday. I woke up thinking it was Wednesday, so it was a little bumpy right out of the gate, but we corrected, and so I got only a half day tomorrow, so I'm looking very forward to tomorrow.
Nice. Well, I mean, tomorrow is one day closer to the weekend, and then also to wake up thinking that you only have a half day and then realize that you have a full day is...
Yeah, that was rough. It was rough.
I feel that. Anyway, so most people who are watching, again, know who you are, have seen your face everywhere, follow you for all of your fabulous fantasy football takes.
And a myriad of other things.
And a myriad of other things. If you are not following her, you really should, because it is entertainment quality. Grade A entertainment. How long have you been playing fantasy football, and what got you into it?
I've been playing, my kid is 6. I started in my first league when she was 7 months old, so this will be going into my 7th year. And I started because my dad needed an extra player for one of his work leagues. And he said, "Can you do it?" And I said, "No, I work 12-hour shifts. I bring my baby to work with me. I don't have time to draft a fantasy football team." So he drafted it for me. And from there, I was able to manage it. But I just didn't have 2 hours to sit down and draft. And so after managing it and then understanding all the mechanics of it, I'm just so competitive that I was like, I want all of this. And so me and my best buddy we started with one home league where we now have a regular home league and an auction league. I have in another hometown league, so I have 3 of those, and then found the Twitter community when I was like, I have to beat the boys. And found the Twitter community, and here we are 4 years later.
So how many leagues are you in total? Let me rephrase that. How many leagues were you in 2020, including redraft? Because redraft season is over. We know that. So how many leagues were you in last year?
Including Scott Fishbowl, 29.
Good Lord have mercy. And I thought my 13 was bad.
And I did not, when I did my records and looked at everything, I never included Scott Fishbowl because it felt so different from everything else. Oh, and also if you include the best ball, that would make it 30, but I don't include best ball. So
I don't include best ball.
I cheated a little bit on that number, but it's fine.
I was in 2 or 3 best ball leagues, I think, and I didn't include them either because I'm I drafted, I'm done with you. If I don't have to look at you every week, I don't count you.
Yeah, it is nice for to scratch my drafting itch in the off season. So I left some dynasty leagues. I was I wasn't good. Not that I'm not good at dynasty, but I wasn't managing well because I had too many leagues. So I dropped a ton with strangers I don't talk to at all on Twitter. I kept the leagues with people that I interact with. And then both shows that I do Monday and Wednesday will do a league. So I was like.
So yeah, I totally get that. Speaking of dynasty, I'm relatively new to the fantasy football Twitter community. I've discovered it in probably March or so of last year and rapidly fell down the rabbit hole of, hey, we're starting a dynasty league. Do you want to be in it? Yeah, sure. Young, dumb, and naive, although I'm 34, I had no idea what all that entailed. So honestly, going into this year, I think I'm in 3 or 4 dynasty leagues that are no longer startup. So we have a rookie draft this year, and I'm terrified because I'm I have no idea what I'm doing. Everybody's oh my gosh, it's easy, it's great, you'll be fine. And I'm 10 out of 10, totally intimidated.
As long as you stay in the Twitter circle of you're going to read about every rookie. So when the draft hits, you're I've fucking heard of this guy. Click it. It doesn't. Nobody's gonna. If somebody questions you, just go like, "This my guy. This my 2021 guy." Nobody will say anything.
Oh goodness, that's great. So speaking of your guys and our guys, you are very vocal about your love of kickers.
Obnoxiously so.
Please share with the class where that love came from. Why do you love kickers so much? Like, to most people, to Josh, our friend Joshua Hudson, kickers don't matter. He will literally tweet it over and over again. Kickers don't matter. Why do they matter, Linda?
Well, the reason I have such a soft spot for kickers is my dad was a kicker at Oklahoma State, and that's what we'd like on Thanksgiving. I go out with my boy cousins. They would throw the football. I was going to punt it because I have noodle arms, man. I can't throw. I can't catch. I don't want to do that. So I kicked the ball, and it's a part of the game. And so I already have a soft spot for them, and it's like happening. So why not make a field goal exciting for fantasy football? Because otherwise you're going to be like, ugh, this helps no one. Well, it helps me in my leagues because I have that kicker. And now I enjoy that aspect of the game. So I just do, man. I know I'm going to be arguing it all, I think, probably till I quit playing fantasy. So,
which will be when you die.
Mm-hmm. Just hand off my dynasty leagues to my kid.
You've been trained for this moment, P.
Yeah, exactly.
If you draft a terrible person, I will yell at you. I will haunt you.
Yes, I'm gonna definitely haunt her.
Oh, that's hysterical. I didn't know that your dad was a kicker at Oklahoma State. I mean, I knew you were an OSU fan, but I never knew the reason why.
Yeah, he kicked barefoot. Yep. I'll send you the link to the article. It's insane.
That's crazy.
Yeah. Well, if you knew my dad, it would make a whole lot of sense.
Well, if you're anything like your dad, I kind of get an understanding. I mean, you are a very unique person and so fun. I mean, who doesn't love you?
There's probably a list.
It's okay. I've got a list too. Mine's probably almost twice as long. Side note, I see you drinking Truly. Have you tried the Bud Light lemonades?
Yeah, I tried them last week. They're not bad. I would get them at the like if they were out of my lemonades, but they're not as tangy. And I'm like one of those. I want my lemonade to like. So, I still prefer the Trulies, but I didn't hate and I like the peach one a lot on the Bud Lights.
Agreed. I bought them when I had a cold, so I couldn't quite taste them completely. And now that I don't have that cold, I was like, oh, I remember liking these. Let me get some of these. And then I was like, these don't taste like I remember them tasting. I don't hate them, but they don't taste the same.
They also Truly has an iced tea now too, a flavored iced tea pack, and it's not bad.
I don't like iced tea.
It gives me, I don't either, but they're flavored. So there's like a raspberry tea, peach tea, but it gives me heartburn. And the regular Truly lemonades don't give me heartburn. I don't know the science behind that, but so I have to like be careful with the iced teas.
I have discovered that I can't drink Truly lemonade and eat like anything spicy or buffalo together because that mixture gives me heartburn. And buffalo and Truly is not something you want to be feeling time and time again.
Last night I drank Truly and ate jalapeno Cheez-Its and read an entire book. And this morning I was like, ugh, that was a bad idea. And also you should have ate more for sure.
Are you, depending on the book, are you one of those, I'm just going to read one more chapter and then like the rest of the book later, you're done and it's 3 a.m.?
Yeah, one more chapter is very equal to one more beer for me. Like if I say it, I'm like, don't play yourself, but I'll say it out loud anyway, just to like, maybe I'll trick myself. I didn't.
And then yourself is like, you idiot, I'm smarter than that.
Yeah, exactly. There's way too many of me.
Oh my gosh, that's funny. I have done that numerous times where I'm like, it's 11:30. I need to go to bed, but I really like this book. I'm just going to read one more chapter. Next thing I know, it's 3 a.m. and I'm done with the book. And I'm like, well, I have to get up in 4 hours. This is going to be a fun day.
Yeah, I was reading a rom-com and I got to the part where that's like, oh, everything's gonna fall apart, and then it was like, no, I have to finish. So
Don't you
once I
quit
get to
on
that
me.
part, yeah, I'm
I'm
like,
not
I
giving up
swear
on
to
you.
God, if I read this entire book and they don't end up together, I've thrown books for it. It pisses me. I'm like, that's not why I was reading.
So I love reading. My mom's one of those people that once she starts a book, she's like, I'm going to finish it because I've started it. I've got to find out what happens. I legitimately got halfway through a book once and I was like, I don't enjoy this anymore, and just stopped reading. And she's like, how? I'm like, I didn't enjoy it anymore.
Yeah, I just don't care. If I don't care what happens, then I don't need to know.
Exactly.
I used to be like in high school, I was like, if I cracked it open, I was going to finish it by golly. And then one day I was like, what? Why? Because I already wasted 2 hours on it? No, I'm not going to waste 2 more hours. I'll just pick
Exactly.
something else.
I will find
Yeah.
something I know I enjoy.
Yep.
Or hopefully find something that I enjoy. So you are also very outspoken on Twitter. Well, you're just outspoken on Twitter in general. But
Yeah.
you are very outspoken about a certain aspect of Twitter that women have to deal with, and that's douchey dudes.
Yeah.
To be fair, it's not just fantasy football Twitter, it's just life in general that we have to deal with them. But especially the whole sports community and women dealing with sports and all of that stuff. Why is women in sports such a big deal for you?
I was already pretty obnoxiously like, it would like piss me off at when I'd talk about liking football, because I've always been a psychopath about Oklahoma State. Okay. And then once I became a Denver fan and started watching the NFL, like I want to talk about it. And so when dudes would be like, well, can you tell me who the Heisman Trophy winner was in 1984 since you like football? I'm like, no, I was born in 1993. Sit down. Let's talk about who's playing right now. I don't want to talk about 1984. I want to talk about right now. And so like already it like irked me. And then having a kid who I want to play sports, and I know how crucial it is for girls and confidence to play sports and what that does for young girls, because I played everything. I played stuff just so I didn't have to take a class some semesters. Well, I'm not good at this, but I'm not going to a class. And now that I have her, I don't want her to think like, oh, well, that's like a boy thing, or, or any little girl to think that. So I just want to work on wiping it all out before she one day wants to try to play fantasy football, or any little girl wants to play fantasy football, or any grown woman for that matter. It's an inclusive space, damn it.
I mean, I don't understand, guys. Like, I get it. It's been a boys' club forever. It's a thing. Like, but it's fake football. Like, you're doing
It's a computer game.
Exactly. It's
Although,
a game of luck.
The video game community also not very keen on women. So I could see how like computer nerds are like, no, it's both my things.
Girls not allowed. It's the He-Man Woman Haters Club. I was in a group on Facebook once, a big sports group. There were like 10,000 members, and it's funny because in a group of 10,000, there were legitimately maybe only 30 names that were active that I saw on repeat. And I was one of two pretty popular women in there. It was a mostly men's group because that's what sports is a boys club. And she was one of those, she's older than me. She was one of those, well, if you like sports, then tell me this random stat from 1992. And I'm like, I was 6. I didn't care.
That's yucky. I don't like, it's the same way. I have a friend, this year was her first year ever playing. I'm like, please play. I put a league together. It was all Oklahoma State fans, so we could talk about the season while we played fantasy football. Mm-hmm. And so I got her to join. Plus, because I got her to join that league, her brother and boy cousins finally asked her to join their family league, which she won, by the way.
Nice. Get it, girl.
Like week 3, she posted something about not sure if she should start Derrick Henry.
Mm-hmm.
And because her and I talk on Twitter, a lot of fantasy Twitter has like, they know about her.
Yeah.
And they just start brutally going in about, why would you say Derrick Henry? And blah, 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 blah. And I was like, whoa, 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 whoa. We're not everybody is a degenerate like we
Yeah.
are. Not everybody can tell you every single thing that you might want to know about a player. She had no idea. And Derrick Henry had 2 bad weeks. I would have benched him too if I had no idea. To be exclusive to anybody, to say we don't like 8-man leagues, we don't like 10-man leagues. Oh, that's like little kid stuff. Yeah. So what? Mm-hmm. We want people to play this game. Otherwise, what the hell are we doing here? And so it makes me so mad when people shun new players or people that have never watched football before but want to try something new, you know? I'm so mad.
I was in a 10-team redraft league last season, and I posted my roster because it was ridiculous. Everybody went running back like hard. I think I had the end turn. Or no, I might have had like 2 or 3. And I took either Patrick Mahomes or Deshaun Watson in my early pick. And then when it came back around, everybody was taking running back. So I was like, sure, I'm going to take the other one because the other one was available. It was a super flex league. So obviously I had that. And I posted my roster and everybody's like, why are you in only a 10-team league? That's like cheap. That's like kids leagues. And I was like, why do you care? You're not in it.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly.
Do I question your judgment on
anything?
Tight end premium auction leagues where you have to pick a dude with one eye closed? No. Also, some people have some really weird rules.
Yeah, I'm drafting in a current league that's insane. A startup for the show I do on Mondays, and it's 2 tight ends, super flex, tight end premium. They included kickers because I'm a pain in the ass.
I refuse.
And we're drafting rookie picks, so like, it's just been insane. But I finally got Josh Allen.
Tell us how you feel about Josh Allen.
Oh, it's aggressive.
He's delightfully yummy. In case you're wondering, he has a very nice rear end.
Yeah. Well, football pants are good.
Baseball pants are also good.
Yeah. One time I got... Never mind, I'm not going to tell that story. That's the other thing that ticks me off, though, is like, when I say, like, I like football, and somebody's like, oh, you like it because the dudes are hot. First of all, the hit rate, pretty low on hot dudes. Are there some? Mm-hmm. Are there a lot of not somes? Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And just because I mention somebody's appearance, like, I joke all the time that, like, I'm going to objectify men because men objectify us all the time. I've been getting objectified my whole life. I'm going to dish it back out. And they're like, we don't like that. I'm like, yeah, me either.
Right?
Also, I'm not saying it directly to him. He is never going to see me on Twitter joking about being the Beatle, like him being a Beatle and me being like, oh, you know? Like, it's just, that's another thing that makes me mad. This turned into a rant session. I apologize.
It's okay. I asked the question, so we're good. So speaking of fantasy football and women, and we kind of just went over this, but what advice do you have for women who are either already in the fantasy football community, who want to be part of it, who are looking to either play more or write for fantasy football, all of that stuff? What kind of advice do you have for those women just dealing with the haters and dealing with the men who are like, you don't belong here, this is a boys club, blah, blah, blah?
My first bit of advice is that you can message me and I will out mother so fast. I do not care if you like me or not. Men that don't want women in sports. If you don't like me, I don't like you either. There's a pretty good chance. So if I'm serious, if any woman is ever uncomfortable with something that a man is doing, come to me. I will handle it. You will not be mentioned. I will take care of it. But my second piece of advice is to find a group of people that are going to uplift you. I got really lucky running into like the Sons of Dynasty guys in BZ and in D Brown and in Brother Matt. And then I got really lucky again with Troy and John and Mitch. And I know that they always have my back. Like, but I also have you and stepmom Lauren and my friend Liz. Like, you've got to find a home base that you can always come back to when you need to. You've got to have a home base.
Agreed. And I will say that for every bro out there who's like, women don't belong in fantasy football, there are probably 5 guys that disagree completely. And
right.
So, and also those 5 guys have all of their friends who will just as easily out a bro for being misogynistic and saying, no, they have every right to be here too.
Right.
So if you find that one, go ham on him. Call in the cavalry. We will back you up.
Yeah.
We will also go ham because it's what we enjoy doing. I don't know about you, but I thoroughly enjoy putting a man in his place when he deserves to be put in his place.
They're smashing the patriarchy is my drug of choice. Okay. There was one morning I knew I was going to wake up, like some shit went down and I was like, oh, I can't wait to address this in the morning. And I woke up that next morning at like 7 a.m. like, let's go. Wednesday. Like, I was ready.
That's amazing. Let's go. And find your female friends, find your community. There's Linda, there's stepmom Lauren, there's Cooter. Also, side note, Cooter Doodle is one of the greatest women in general, not just on Twitter, although she's kind of a maniac with her videos lately. I love her, but I'm like, this hurts. This hurts so much.
Best. She's my favorite.
They're genius. I hate them, but they are so genius. It's like, I wish I had half of this genius to even think of these things.
Yeah, I just don't watch them.
Oh, Michelle Majuk today. Like, she's like, where have I been missing these? And Cooter's like, oh, well, I have you here. And decides to paint her nails red, but like legitimately painted the entire like tip. I was like, yeah, Jesus help me.
Well, both of us have young children who like to paint fingernails, so it's probably not the first time her whole fingers been. Certainly for me, I'd be like, yeah, that's like a Tuesday at my house. I mean, I'm not doing it, but although I do sometimes, if I have too many Trulies, I'll be like, I'm gonna give myself a manicure, and I'll wake up and I always paint my nails black, like that's my only active color. And I woke up one morning and I just had black like streaked. I was like, how do I even do that? Just
well, the fact that it dried and you didn't get it anywhere else.
Yeah, no.
That's actually talent.
It was special. Right, and I was out of fingernail polish remover. I had like something to do the next day and I was like, oh, I'll paint my nails for it. And I was like, in the morning, just like rubbing it on.
Water, a little sponge from the kitchen, the scrubby side, trying to get it off.
Exactly.
Speaking of women and fantasy football and leagues, you and I were actually in our first league together. Actually, we were in 2 last season.
Right, because you took over that one team and then we had that redraft. Right?
Well, then we were in 3 because you and I were in the Some Bullshit League from Club Fantasy.
Right.
And then I took over in what is now Battle of the Sexes that you are no longer part of. Didn't you leave that?
Probably.
Okay. But the league I
left a ton.
The league I am talking about is what was it? The Super Flexi Draft Queens League, started by the one and only Liz Loza. It was an all-female league, and a certain somebody in the room, not me, won that league. with like
That was the
a
only league I cared about all year.
good record too.
That was the only league I cared about all year. I talked about it with there's a group of guys in town that I know that like I don't play with, but they get together like on Sunday mornings and set their roster and drink a beer. So I'll go with them every once in a while. We were out there one day and I was talking about my Liz Loza league, and they were like, was it like 10 teams? I was like, no, it's 14. And they were like, that's not a real thing. And I was like, okay, so you were going to shame me if it was 10, but I tell you it's 14 and you don't believe me? Like, there's no winning here.
Oh, and the fact that it's all women. Oh, you must be super easy. Yeah,
no, not at all. It was fun though.
For you, maybe. I mean, I had fun. Don't get me wrong. I did not enjoy losing as often as I did.
Yeah, that's fair.
Well, and that's part of that whole 13 things. I mean, I know you had more, but the majority of my leagues were either on Sleeper. The majority of them were on Sleeper, and then I had one on my fantasy league, which was the Scott Fish Bowl, and then I had one on Yahoo, which was the Liz Loza League. And so Sleeper was easy, but then it was the remembering to go into the other two to set my lineups, and it was like, ugh.
Yeah, I have 5 on Yahoo, 1 on ESPN. I had 2 on MLF, and then the rest were on Sleeper. And the one on ESPN, you have to like when you make a switch, save it. And week 1, I was like, switch it, and didn't save it.
Ooh.
So the next day, I had like dudes on IR. I was like, fuck, I changed it. Just I don't remember to hit that save button. So that's the one I set that before Sunday morning when I'm like hungover, like, oh, I gotta set all these leagues. I always do that one early.
There was one of my leagues that on Sleeper that I set, and I was like, all right, we good. But then come Sunday morning, I didn't remember to go back and check it. And so like 2 of the players that I had started were either like were out, and I was like, and the games have already started by the time I realized, and it was like, well, that's cool.
I've done that. Or like made a mental note of like, gotta move that player out. And then I look later and I'm like, did I just not do it? Did I just like move on? Yep, apparently.
I didn't move that player out. Cheers.
Apparently.
Cool story. Cool story. So, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, children of all ages, this has been Not Linda.
What?
Linda, Not Linda. You had
exactly.
To be. If you don't know, search Twitter. I'm sure you'll find it. You'll find the explanation somewhere. Now, for the interesting part of the show. The rest has been entertainment. Now, the interesting part of the show. So, when we started the Speakeasy in October, the purpose of the Speakeasy is a continuation of our Women of Fantasy Football events by Club Fantasy. We had a great event on our event for this year. It's going to be just as big, just as awesome, if not bigger and more awesome. And so the goal of the Speakeasy was a continuation of that, to get to know the women of fantasy football, and not just fantasy football sometimes, but just women in sports, women who are breaking barriers, women who are part of that boys club who are inching their way in. And so we started the Speakeasy as a once a month kind of interview with women on how they're doing, how they're breaking those barriers, and how all of that is portraying in their lives. And some things that didn't involve sports, just some general information about them, things they enjoyed, kind of some get to know you stuff for people who may not know anything about them in real life. And so that is what we've continued to do. I had a busy season. I work in elections. So from November until now, it was a busy time last season. And sometimes you just realize that things that you thought that you were going to be great at, things that you were looking forward to, like once you start doing them, reality is a little bit different than perception. It's kind of like a shirt that you look at and you're like, oh, that's really cute. And then you try it on and you're like, that is not really cute.
Oh, you mean so like every shirt I've ever put on ever?
Yeah, you're like, oh, that's super cute on the hanger. And then you put it on and you're like, oh, okay, what happened here?
Usually for me, it's like, oh, that's super cute. And then I put it on and I'm like, oh, it's a dress for short people. Never mind.
Just kidding. So as much as I love doing all of this and I love talking to like women, I have discovered that podcasting isn't exactly something that I really enjoy. And that's okay because it happens. I love hanging out with a group of people. I love conversations, but podcasting isn't for everybody. However, podcasting is for this lady. And so on a lovely evening in both Florida and Oklahoma, I am officially making the announcement that the lovely Linda is taking over as host of the Speakeasy. So,
Yay.
welcome officially.
Thank you.
It's not a real word.
Hey, every word's a real word after you have a drink or two. I make no arguments.
I enjoy that. So, which officially means that as host of the Speakeasy, you are now officially, again, I said it again, officially a member of Club Fantasy. So welcome to the family.
Thank you. And thank you for trusting me with your baby. I appreciate that.
I'll check in from time to time to make sure that you
as you should with any nanny.
Valid point. I'll just stop.
There you go. There you go.
So, do you have anything that you want to add? Do you have anything that you want to say?
I'm just excited to get going. I'm looking forward to what kind of mess I can get girls into. That's like my shit. I'm ready. I like to get to know people. So I think Josh was like, I want it to be like a 20-30 minute thing. I'm like, I'm going to have to really cut back on my chatter. But
which is funny because honestly, because I remember your first podcasting appearance was on our Women of Fantasy Football events, and you were kind of a last minute, hey, do you want to come hang out for 10 minutes at this time? You weren't scheduled, and you were so nervous. Like you didn't.
Yeah.
I think you might have said maybe 4 words.
I just know I really shit on wedding choreographed dances.
Yes,
other than that, I pretty much blacked out. But I've certainly got after that though, like that gave me, I was like, I can do this. That wasn't a good example, but I can do this. I can talk into a microphone. And so like just the more I've gotten to do it, like I love sitting in this tiny corner next to my messy craft cabinet and staring at all the Legos that are broken, talking about fantasy football. I love it.
That is amazing. So, like I said, after your appearance on Women of Fantasy Football, it was the following week, I believe it was your very first episode of, oh, I'm a terrible person for forgetting this right now.
Fantasy Football Confidential.
Yeah, that one. You're in I had to run through them, and I was like, nope, it wasn't that one, because you're now in what, 3?
Well, I do Fantasy Besties on Monday at 7:15-ish. All of us get off work at a different time. We're never all there at the same time, so we just say around 7:15. And then with Fantasy Football Confidential on Wednesdays. In the off season, we're trying to do every other Wednesday, but then we accidentally scheduled a bunch of guests consecutive Wednesdays in a row. So, but and then Friday nights I just hang out on happy hour, and I don't know how you find it. So,
Fantasy Football Confidential is part of the Wednesday night lineup that also includes, no pun intended, presented by Club Fantasy.
Yep.
And then also,
it goes Club Fantasy, Fantasy Intervention, Fantasy Confidential, and then Vipers.
Yes. So Wednesday is a lit night for your fantasy.
It's great in season.
Oh, it is.
Yeah.
There's a whole slew of guests. So other than officially being part of the Club Fantasy team now and all of that stuff, where in all of the 64 different places can people find you?
You can find me on Twitter at Lindellions. It's there. I'm not gonna spell it out loud. People get tired of me doing that. But also, if you just scroll Twitter long enough, you'll probably run into me. I'm on there all the time, so that's mostly where you can find the me.
The me. Where can they see you? Where can they hear you?
Well, I write for Fantasy Sake. I'm gonna do some off-season content. We're still trying to hammer down what exactly that's gonna be, because in season I do a weekly streamer article, and then I also write for Fantasy Intervention, and that's going to be in season as well. There's going to be some kicker rankings coming out. And then you can find me at Fantasy Besties and at FF_confidential on Twitter. We've got a lot of big guests coming up this offseason. They're like every single one so far has been verified on Twitter, and it's making me extremely nervous. But we have a lot of fun over there. We played some drinking games when I can talk the guys into it, and we just have a good time. We laugh. We talk about women in sports. We talk about people of color. We talk about anything and everything under the moon. So that's where you can find, read, and see me.
Well, like she said, you can find her at Lindellions. It's right there.
Nailed it.
I always have to consciously think to point the opposite way.
I don't know my lesson rights, so I'm probably not ever going to get it.
You can find me at FF_leap of faith. You can also follow the Speakeasy at the Speakeasy FF. Thanks for hanging out with us. It has been a joy and a delight. I may pop back in every once in a while just to hang out. But catch our next episode, the 4th episode, with the lovely and talented Not Linda. Have a good evening, everybody.